Bitcoin climbing back above $93,000, hitting its highest level in 2 weeks. Been a rough run, though, since hitting that all-time high back in October, and a key underlying factor heading into the new year, the regulatory backdrop. Joining me now is Paul Grewal, Coinbase Chief Legal Officer. Paul, it is great to see you. We've got a lot of crypto news to cover, Paul, and you are just the man to talk about it. Well, let's start with your boss, Paul. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. He's at the DealBook conference today, Paul. You saw this. He says he hopes for a Senate vote soon on the Clarity Act. Let's start there, Paul. Remind us what the Clarity Act is all about and what it would mean, Paul, for Coinbase, for your business, for the broader industry.
Well, it's great to be here. The Senate is considering their version of the Clarity Act. And what the Clarity Act, which passed the House early this year, would provide for the first time is a true market structure for crypto here in the United States. Now, earlier in the year, Congress passed and the president signed a bill regarding stablecoins, which is an important first step in providing clarity and certainty under the law for crypto and digital assets. But it's really time, it's essential that Congress finish the job. And that's what it will do when the Senate finally passes market structure legislation in short order and the president signs it.
Paul, you mentioned stablecoins there. Now, Brian Armstrong also did talk about that. He said banks are exploring stablecoins after Congress passed the Genius Act. I'm curious, Paul, what does that mean, do you think, for the adoption curve?
Well, there's no question that traditional financial institutions, including banks, now understand very well the power and the potential of stablecoins to bring transformation to the financial services industry. And what it will mean, of course, is greater adoption, greater utilization, and improved efficiency throughout the financial system. We are pleased to see banks finally wake up to the realization that it's time for innovation in the way we move money around on the internet, and we're delighted to have them as partners in this space and look forward to their full participation.
Now, Paul, it wasn't just Brian Armstrong, your colleague at DealBook. We had Larry Fink there, too. Here's another big name. He said Bitcoin, that was interesting, he said Bitcoin remains heavily influenced, Mr. Fink says, by leveraged players. And I'm curious what you make of that, Paul. I mean, how much risk does leverage sort of still pose here? And how does Coinbase mitigate that?
Well, Coinbase has provided access to Bitcoin for millions of Americans, really going back to the earliest days of crypto. But it's a market like any other market that evolves with time, and it's natural to expect that individuals who may have been less familiar or even less comfortable custodying their own Bitcoin and holding it in their own wallets would want to rely upon intermediaries of all types in order to fully participate and finally participate in this market. We are seeing leverage and additional intermediaries relying upon leverage introduce new options for consumers to participate in the Bitcoin revolution. And that, of course, will require there to be new standards, new requirements, and new safeguards put in place. But we think that the market structure legislation is key to facilitating that. It will define for the first time which assets are subject to the securities laws of the U.S. and which assets fall outside of those laws. And we think that concerns regarding leverage and many others are best addressed by Congress and the agencies charged with writing rules once Congress acts.
Switching gears, Paul, another big headline in your world. You saw this one. Vanguard will now allow crypto ETFs on its platform. Curious, Paul, what did you make of that headline? What does it perhaps signal to you more broadly about crypto as an asset class? Why do you think, Paul, Vanguard did an about-face there?
Well, Vanguard, like many others, I think initially was skeptical of the power and the potential of crypto to fundamentally transform the financial system and financial institutions that operate within it. And yet I think it's finally become clear to all skeptics that millions and millions of Americans want crypto in their financial future and want real alternatives to a traditional system that has excluded many of them for far too long. And so if skeptics, at least initial skeptics, are finally waking up to that realization and eager to join the party, we say welcome.
Finally, Paul, you all did release the Coinbase Transparency Report. I want to dive into that with you as well. Here's a stat that jumps out, Paul. You all saw a nearly 20% jump in government information requests this year, and more than half coming from outside the U.S. Walk me through that jump, Paul. What explains that? I mean, I would assume it's sort of, it's multifactorial, but is that greater adoption, Paul? Is that, hey, law enforcement, both here and overseas, is getting more sophisticated? What's going on?
Well, our transparency report that we shared earlier this week was, in fact, the 7th report Coinbase has issued detailing the volumes and the sources of all the legal process to which we have responded over the previous year. And it is, I think, pretty striking that we now have a majority of those formal requests from law enforcement coming from outside the U.S., even as volumes, as you point out, are continuing to grow in every jurisdiction. I think it's quite natural and quite expected that as many more people, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, are embracing digital assets and cryptocurrencies as a part of their financial future, that law enforcement, in support of governments all over the world, are naturally going to be looking at where, in limited instances, those accounts or those currencies are being used for illicit purposes. We've always taken the position that our customers' privacy comes first, and so we've insisted upon lawful process, but when we are served with it, we will, of course, comply with all laws, and I think our report shows that.
Finally, Paul, I'll get you out of this as we kind of spin ahead, as we look to next year. I'm just curious, Paul, what are some of the metrics you all watch to sort of track and measure crypto adoption? I'm just curious, what's on your radar? Do you watch, is it ETF flows, Paul? Is it stablecoin volumes? What would be on your radar?
Well, it's very, I think, tempting to focus entirely on the price of Bitcoin or some other digital asset or another, or the total market value for all digital assets. But at Coinbase, we are as much interested in the ways in which crypto is being used to power our financial future as much as the dollars and cents of it all. And what we are most excited about is that you're now seeing digital assets and blockchain networks being used to solve many more problems than simple investment opportunities for our customers and for users all over the world. You're seeing real alternatives being made available through DeFi applications, for example, for credit. You're seeing adoption of digital assets to offer many more forms of payment and many more ways to transfer value across the internet. And so it's that real acceleration and adoption of different forms of digital assets and blockchain networks that has us as excited as much as anything. And we're prepared for it, we're excited about it, and we're delighted to see this vision of ours finally come into reality.